You're listening to English with Monty, the podcast about the English language. If you're an English language learner, have a keen interest in language, or you're a teacher, then this podcast is for you. We give tips and advice and discuss topics about learning and teaching. We hope you find it fun and informative, that it gives you help and encouragement in your journey with the English language. Hello there, welcome to English with Monty. We're on to episode 14 now. We're just in the in-between period between Christmas in the UK and New Year's Eve. And so I have Gideon here today to talk about some elements of Christmas in terms of idiomatic expressions and New Year's as well. And also to talk about elements of what's happened in the past 12 months. I thought a bit of a review as well in terms of the highlights, not the lowlights. So hi Gideon, how are you doing?
Hi John, happy period between Christmas and New Year to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's the most important time of the year.
Bit unusual this year.
Very unusual. I mean, obviously we're hoping for better in terms of the new year, aren't we? And 2021 hopefully will be much better than 2020. I thought it was a good opportunity to reflect though, and to talk about some of these idiomatic expressions and ideas the listeners can perhaps use this time of year.
Yeah, let's go.
I thought we'd take a look at some Christmas idioms to start off with. Obviously, we're approaching this from a UK-centric idea, because obviously not everybody celebrates Christmas. I guess in the UK in general, it's quite a big event, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
I suppose it's the time of year where we have holidays, don't we? And we spend time with our family. I guess they are phrases, whether you're into Christmas or not, that people would use. I thought we'd start off with a white Christmas.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, John.
Just like the one we used to know.
That's nice. I'm glad I joined you today on the podcast to hear you sing. But the sad thing is that white Christmas, we don't actually get white Christmases in England, do we? It never snows in London. It never snows on December the 25th. It snows maybe in February or not at all.
That's true. Having said that, apparently, which you might be surprised of, but actually it was considered a white Christmas in the UK this year.
What?
Because in Suffolk and in Scotland, there was snow on the ground on Christmas Day, so therefore we had a white Christmas.
But what if you're not in Suffolk or Scotland? What if you're in, I don't know, Barnet or somewhere? Then
you didn't. Apparently on a national basis, then that's considered a white Christmas, which I thought was curious.
Interesting. There's no white Christmas where I am at the moment.
In Gran Canaria?
Yes, I'm in the Canary Islands. No snow. I'd be very surprised if we see any.
Did Christmas come early this year?
Meaning what?
The phrase Christmas came early.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is an idiom. Yeah, that's a good one. It means that some wonderful event or thing happened to you early in the year. He goes, wow, it's Christmas come early, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've just been upgraded to high-speed Wi-Fi. Great. Christmas has come early this year. It's only March the 22nd.
Exactly. Talking about internet connections, much more commonly Christmas-related maybe in terms of excitement.
Yes. Especially at this moment in time, the internet goes down when you're in lockdown. I mean, that's a very serious problem.
It is a serious problem. It's true.
How about to turn over a new leaf?
Excellent. Where did you get that from? That's a good one.
It's sort of talking about the new year, New Year's resolutions, doing new things. So it's a chance to turn over a new leaf, which means to do something new or to have a second look at something, do it differently, new projects.
I think the imagery as well of a leaf itself is quite nice and relaxing maybe. Also, you could have a similar one with out with the old, in with the new, which is a similar idea as well, isn't it?
I think so. I think the leaf, I think it's maybe a leaf of paper though. Turn over a new leaf. That's an old word for paper.
Oh yeah, you might be right. Yeah, that's true.
Nowadays we think of leaves only as being the things on trees, but I think referred to leaf paper.
I think you are right, because it's like having a fresh new page, isn't it? Where you can write down your new ideas.
Just thought of one about Christmas. Like turkeys voting for Christmas. Just reminded that one. By the way, I should tell your listeners that these Christmassy idioms you can use any time of the year. Like that one, like turkeys voting for Christmas.
You can very much so, can't you? And I suppose that's quite interesting as an idea, though, isn't it? That obviously, yeah, we're talking about it because it's the time of year, but yeah, you can use them anytime, can't you? Of course.
British people voting for Brexit is like turkeys voting for Christmas. I shouldn't get political. Maybe some people think that. Some people who are not so in favour of Brexit.
What does it mean then?
It means that you are supporting something that will lead to your own downfall.
Ooh,
something like that.
That's right, yes. Traditionally, I would say that turkey is usually eaten in the United Kingdom, so therefore it's normally on your plate, Christmas.
Yeah.
Linking to this idea, you could say, eat, drink, and be merry. This is something that you could potentially say at Christmas time, but again, could be linked to anything in general, couldn't it?
But you've only said half the proverb. It's eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die.
Ah, of course.
Seize the moment, enjoy it, because you never know what's going to happen next.
That's true. Do you know where that comes from?
No.
Apparently it's a biblical reference.
Okay, makes sense.
Seize the day, seize the moment. That's the key to it, isn't it, really? That's quite a nice message for everybody, isn't it? To make the most of today.
Yeah, for tomorrow we die. Not that nice. Not. It makes you focus. Yeah, let's enjoy it now.
Exactly. I remember last year when we had our Christmas party, you were lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I'm confused by that idiom. What does it actually mean? You'll have to explain not only to your listeners, but also to me. I'm always confused by that one.
The idea is that you were wearing a pink jacket and a yellow waistcoat and orange trousers.
Doesn't everybody?
I guess they do. I don't always. I guess it's just looking very nice, overly dressed, bright, sparkly, having decorative items. It can be quite a positive thing, can't it?
Can it? Okay, that's good to know. For when I wear my fluorescent red trousers and my bow tie with purple spots.
Exactly. So he's always dressed like a Christmas tree, so it's not hard to spot him in the crowd. The band members were done up like a Christmas tree for their performance.
Yeah.
And what about pudding? Do you like pudding?
Depends on the pudding. The proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
The proof of the pudding is in the eating.
So what does that mean?
That means don't be skeptical and judge things. If the result is good, then it's okay, even though maybe it seemed beforehand that it wouldn't be okay. Is that right? I'm not very good at defining things.
Guess so, yeah. The idea that something can be successful only when you test or you use it, isn't it?
For example, John makes a banana and chicken curry. And everyone says, no, we don't want to eat that. He says, well, try, it might be good. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. So it doesn't have to be about food, but that's the idea that came to mind.
This is true. Another example. So if you think this factory or this industry is going to shut down, take a look at the profits it's making. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
In actual fact, it's making good money. Why would you shut it down?
I prefer my chicken and banana curry example.
Which is frequently on British menus. We always eat things like that. What would you call it? A banuri?
I haven't given it much thought.
What about some other New Year's expression? I thought of an interesting one to talk about the winds of change.
The winds of change, yeah. That is about change, literally, isn't it? Things are going to be very different.
That's it. I mean, I suppose as a country or the United Kingdom, the winds of change are coming, aren't they, supposedly from the 1st of January, because we're entering a new phase politically.
I think the origin of the expression, it's a quote from Harold Macmillan, is that right?
It could well be, yes.
In the early 60s. It's about the winds of change, because things are really going to be different now.
I think it was connected to Parliament in South Africa, wasn't it? in the 60s.
Oh, is that right?
Apparently, yeah. I think it was to do with the idea of colonialism and that these countries were changing away from that idea, I think.
Okay.
But also it was a song.
Yeah, I know the song. Is that the Specials?
No, it's the Scorpions.
The Scorpions. Okay. I'll listen to it after this podcast. Because we talk about Merry Christmas, but something like the more the merrier. Is that kind of like Christmassy related? Not necessarily, but I thought I'd bring it in here because it's a nice expression.
Whenever you use the phrase merry, I suppose that's usually associated with Christmas, isn't it? But the more the merrier can again be used on any occasion, can't it? And I guess nowadays the opposite would be true. The less, the better. Typically, in non-pandemic times, the more the merrier is a good thing because you can have a big party, you can enjoy things together.
Yeah. So you'd use it as a context. So, for example, you're having a party and your friend phones you and says, "Can I bring some friends along to your party?" He goes, "Yeah, sure. The more the merrier."
Exactly. That's definitely something that you'd like to do, I guess. And I guess that's something we will be doing once again in the future.
It's interesting, by the way, the word merry, because we say Merry Christmas, but we don't use the word merry for anything else. We don't say Merry Birthday or Merry New Year or Merry Easter. It's strange. It only goes with Christmas.
That is quite strange, isn't it? I think that's quite an interesting point, though, isn't it? To make sure people just use it with Christmas. I don't know whether it comes down to the idea of drinking, because I guess you could be merry, can't you, to mean being slightly drunk?
Yeah, merry is a sort of synonym for happy, isn't it? And also a euphemism for drunkenness.
Yeah. I noticed that quite a few foreigners would say tipsy, which I think is probably a bit of a posh way of saying to be a bit drunk, isn't it?
I like to say tipsy.
Do you? You're
tipsy.
A bit posh.
Yeah, I like that word. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I just like the sound of it. It's a bit tipsy.
I think that's quite nice. It's just when you're happy drunk, isn't it? After you've had 2 or 3 drinks. Or maybe in your case, just one.
Yeah, glass of dry sherry once a week.
This one isn't really connected to Christmas at all, but I thought it was interesting because it includes the idea of turkey. So to quit cold turkey.
That's an interesting one. I think I know a bit about that one and the origins.
Oh, yeah.
So cold turkey is when you come off some kind of a drug, usually. So, I was a heavy smoker. And then I suddenly stopped smoking. I was cold turkey for quite a long time. I had this anxiety you get when you stop smoking or drinking coffee or other substances. You do so suddenly. The origin is unsure. People think it might be something to do with the skin. The drug addicts stop taking a drug and their skin starts changing and looks like a skin of a turkey. But no one really knows the origin of the expression. But it's a nice one, yeah.
I think that's a good explanation potentially as to why that exists. I mean, have you ever quit anything cold turkey?
I've gone 24 hours without a cup of coffee. That was
24 hours.
That was pretty harsh. Terrible headache. Never again.
You're definitely addicted.
Yeah, definitely. At least it's only coffee. It could be worse. I don't smoke or anything.
If you would like to hear more of Gideon's lovely voice on his own podcast about curious and interesting things about the English language, it's Zeitgeist Banana. Just search for Zeitgeist Banana where you get your podcasts. You will find some wonderful and interesting stories with more of me, too.
I just thought of one. You're talking about Christmassy type things. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Ooh.
And I think it's Christmassy because nowadays people eat turkey for Christmas, but it used to be the case until, I think quite recently, till the Second World War, that goose was a much more common fowl to consume than this time.
It was, wasn't it? I think traditionally goose would have been eaten more, wouldn't it, in the past? And I don't know if it was something to do with cost, possibly, or just ease of breeding them. I'm not really sure.
I guess no idea.
Probably some reason behind it, isn't it?
Well, I'm hoping you can define that expression, because one of those I'm still not sure about. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's it mean?
I'm not really sure. What does it mean? I thought the person that came up with it would explain it.
It means that everyone should be treated in the same way.
Does it now?
Yeah. Listen, your son can go out until 2 a.m. But what about your daughter? Why do you insist that she's back at 11? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Your teenage children.
Yes, that is a good illustration of how it can be used. I like that. Something that could be said of people who are perhaps a bit shorter in height. Good things come in small packages.
Fair enough. Sounds a bit patronizing, isn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
With a short person. It's okay, good things come in small packages.
It does sound a bit patronizing, doesn't it? But I guess what other way would you describe it? I mean, I suppose it's obviously not just about that idea, is it? It's more about also presence as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I was kidding, yes. It's a small packet, doesn't mean it's an inexpensive present. Could be gold in there.
Exactly. I guess it's focusing more on quality than quantity, isn't it?
Yeah. Because we're talking about the wintry conditions, you could say something like, I'm snowed under.
Oh, yeah, I like that one. Are you snowed under?
Not really, no. Snowed under means you've just got too much stuff to do, doesn't it? Your work has come in and like hundreds of emails on the same day and you can't cope with it all, so you say, I'm snowed under.
It's like being buried beneath a snowball or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't get out of all the papers surrounding you. Maybe we'll finish off with one expression about Christmas again. So Christmas comes but once a year. Again, you wouldn't use that necessarily at Christmas time, would you?
I don't really understand it.
Would
I
you
don't
like
understand it very much this time? What the hell does that mean? So does March the 22nd only come once a year? Or any other day you could mention?
Why is March the 22nd significant? Is it your birthday?
No, just a random day.
It's like if I said to you, Gideon, would you like another piece of cake?
Oh, I see. And you're saying once is great, but leave it at that.
No. It's like, you're like, why not?
Oh, okay.
Christmas
I see.
comes once a year.
Okay, let's push the boat out.
Yeah, that's another good expression. Yeah, so it's the idea is that you enjoy it to the fullest. So
can you say that any time of the year?
I think you can't you?
Okay.
Typically, I guess it's used about indulging yourself by overeating or overspending, isn't it?
So you wouldn't say, would you like another slap in the face?
No.
Not that context, okay.
No, I guess you could use that in a slight...
somebody asked me that after being slapped in the face.
I guess you could use it in a comical way, of course.
Yeah.
For me, it would be great to slap you in the face, but you're too far away.
Okay, well, you're my guest.
Well, the other thing that I wanted to talk about, actually, is to talk about potential highlights of the year. So reflecting on our year.
Highlights?
Highlights?
Have there been highlights this year?
There were some, surely. Talking about your teaching experiences and things that have happened, what kind of highlights would you like to talk about?
Highlights been, I'm not kidding here, actually, this podcast has been one of the highlights. Doing the podcast with you.
I agree.
I started to plug my own podcast, Zeitgeist Banana. But because we've been in lockdown, I think it gave us opportunity to reflect and see how the other ways that we could engage with people and communicate with people. And I think that's why I thought, yeah, podcast is a good idea. Believe it or not, doing a podcast with Jon, yeah.
It has been one of the highlights, hasn't it? I mean, for me too. I mean, I really enjoy doing it. And I should hope the listeners get a lot out of it because we do get a lot of joy ourselves. And if you get joy too, then we're happy. It's definitely been one of the highlights, hasn't it? Would you say we would have done the podcast if it hadn't have been for this year?
I don't know. I think it would have taken longer. Maybe we would have got around to it. There's all this other stuff. I sort of run a language school in Paris and there's a lot of work involved that. But because I had time off, well, I would say time off. I was in lockdown. I was stuck at home the whole time. I could move on to other projects. It reminds me of another expression, so every cloud has a silver lining.
Yep.
When there's something negative comes along, like a global pandemic, something positive might come out of it. So, and this is one of the things.
Very much so. And I think it's made us, I don't know about yourself because you're pretty good on the technical side of things, but it's given me the opportunity to revamp myself online as well. Monty is in the process of getting a new website, which should be going live soon in January, which will look nicer and fresher.
Look forward to it.
And the logo's been freshened up a little bit as well. I think for a lot of businesses, people have been focusing a bit more online. And I know you don't like online teaching, and I don't think it's my favorite either, but I do get a lot from it. I think there are elements of online teaching that's quite nice. You get to see into other people's households. If you're nosy, that's quite a good thing.
I do prefer face-to-face, that's true. Well, I don't do that much teaching, not nearly as much as I used to. The amount I do, I'm getting used to it a bit. Certainly prefer face-to-face, but I understand what you mean. Different way, different approach.
And I think the other element that has been good is that you're not teaching people necessarily where you live. Whereas I would always, most of the time, be teaching people where I live. Whereas now we've got a situation where people are living in different parts of the world, and it's much more accepted to do things online. I've kind of ended up meeting students throughout the UK. I have a student in Newcastle who I never would have met before if it wasn't for this situation. Also one in Cambridge and another one in Bristol. So, and obviously including that with the idea that people are overseas. But I think it's curious for me to meet people outside of London.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you do get a wider variety of people from different parts of the world, different parts of the country. Yeah.
Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
New Year's resolution? No, after 2020, it's just to stay healthy and enjoy the moments you have outside with friends, with family, and just make sure that I enjoy those moments and reflect on how lucky I am sometimes.
And I think a lot of people will be doing that potentially.
And to get fit.
And to get fit. I'm not sure if I believe you about that part.
Okay, we'll see.
What are you going to do to get fit?
I might actually do something. Can I be clearer than that?
You're perfectly clear, yes. I think that's a good idea. Well done.
Good.
Any more reflections?
Do you have any New Year's resolutions yourself, by the way?
That's a good question. I guess quite similar to you. I'd like to travel more because I think hopefully by next year we'll be able to travel quite freely. Maybe not until the middle of the year, but that would be nice. I mean, I've always traveled quite a bit, but I think there will be extra emphasis on the idea of traveling and going to places. I did have an idea, and maybe you can help with this or even join me on this idea at some point, but I had an idea to travel around the world and on the way doing a bit of a podcast related to how people do things differently in different countries related to the English language, but also with students that I have met in the past. So to try and make a trip around the world by staying with people who I've met in the past from different countries or somebody that they know and seeing if I can do it.
I think that's a good idea. I think, how about doing a podcast in Benin, for example? We could, not just because you mentioned earlier that you were checking the stats and you had quite a few listeners in Benin.
I think I had one, but yes.
Well, that person might offer an invitation to you.
So if you're in Benin, then I'd be very interested in meeting you and coming to visit. That is an appeal maybe to listeners as well. Wherever you are, if you want to make friends with either myself or Gideon, please feel free to email us. So,
with photos of the free accommodation and food you're going to offer us.
Exactly. I mean, in all seriousness, if you have any comments or any ideas, it's john@montyenglish.co.uk. I did actually mention last time about the idea of giving me a small donation, either to buy a beer or a coffee, and I think I got the address wrong. It should be montyenglish.co.uk/English-language-podcast.
Oh, that's why the large amount of cash that I sent you didn't arrive.
That's it. That's the reason why.
Okay.
The one that was going to buy me 100 beers.
I think this podcast is definitely worth a coffee.
I think Matt Damon wanted to donate as well, but he couldn't.
That's what he said. He said he was trying to, yes, send some to you, but the wrong address.
Indeed. Yeah.
I'll mention that to Matt next time.
You should do. All my fault. Do you want to tell people about your side of the story?
Do come over and listen to Zeitgeist Banana. Zeitgeist Banana, that's the name of my podcast. And Jon is a frequent guest on the podcast, so you'll hear more of his lovely voice. And I also have a YouTube channel called Let Them Talk TV. You can watch that too.
Yeah, we've just done a lovely episode for yours, haven't we, on cliches and stereotypes to do with Britain, which I think is well worth a listen.
Definitely. It was a good episode.
Thanks very much for joining us. And thanks a lot, Gideon.
My pleasure.
I'm wishing you all the best for your New Year's resolution. I'm going to expect you to have a six-pack come June with all your very focused fitness regime. I'm sure you'll do that.
Yes, you can hold me to that.
I will, definitely. Take care, everybody. Have a great New Year and see you next time on English with Monty.